So I've worked across so many different things, and it's funny. I have to say, it's always the purpose-driven. I mean, we do a lot of purpose-driven work, but I have to say they're the ones that the purpose-driven campaigns really like hold that special place in my heart, because I feel like I'm doing more than just, selling something or, promoting our brand.
This is the Snarketing Podcast, for marketers, by marketers, talking to marketers with just a touch of snark. Now, here are your hosts, Valerie Vespa and Matt Wurst.
Thank you, Al, and thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode of the Snarketing Podcast. We are in mid-August 2024. Kids are coming home from sleepaway camp, which, by the way, is such a Northeast thing for me to say. The Olympics are wrapped up. It was incredible. The U.S. represented well. NBC Peacock did an incredible job. Paris, I miss you. I love you. What a great show you put on. But speaking of great shows, we are creating for the first time ever an unprecedented episode. And I'm going to cut right to the chase because Valerie is not here for this intro, but she is here for the interview. We are talking with the first ever husband and wife combo pairing guest superstar tandem, Traci and Josh Spiegelman. They are marketing royalty. They are two halves of the dynamic duo. You know them, you love them, but maybe you don't know them as well as you think you do. And maybe they don't know each other as well as they think they do after, a dozen plus years of marriage. We're going to get into all of that. What do they do? How do they balance their lives as parents? How do they work from home together? Do they help each other? Do they interfere with each other? All of that on this episode.
This episode will bring much more than your typical witty marketing banter because we've got a real power couple in the house. Traci Spiegelman is the VP of Global Media at Mastercard, and she's joined by her husband Josh, the SVP of Entertainment and Sports Partnerships at Burns Entertainment. In addition to balancing their lives as working professionals and parents, they also complement each other's careers with class and creativity. Now, let's see how they do with another dynamic duo. Val and Matt, let's jump right in.
Traci Spiegelman and Josh Spiegelman, welcome to the Snarketing Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us,
Happy to
Matt
be here.
and Valerie. We appreciate it.
So this is a unique experience for us because you are the first husband and wife pairing that we've had as guests. So we're not really sure how this is going to go. Any issues that arise after the fact, we can't be blamed for. I just want to posit that now.
Fair.
Okay?
Fair.
So, no, all kidding aside, thank you guys for being here. You are both luminaries and distinguished as marketers in your own way. You probably each deserved your own episode, but in the interest of efficiency, we're just going to combine it and see what happens. Are you guys cool with that?
Love it.
Okay. So you guys don't work together, even though you often work from home together, which we'll get into. But given that you both have these marketing and you've been in and around the media space for years, and I think you overlapped briefly at a company. I'm curious how you guys just met. Can you tell us how you started? Is it a PhD? You tell us how you met.
So I was coming from Ogilvy. I started a PhD, and when I joined the company, one of the clients who was working on discovery is actually my sister's best friend. And she, from college, not from the industry. And she reached out to me and she's like, oh gosh, you got to meet my team. She's like, especially Josh Spiegelman. You'll like him. She was basically trying to set us up even before, I even met him. And I was walking around the office one day and I noticed this strapping, handsome man. And I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. I didn't know who he was at the time. And then I passed by his desk and I saw the name and I was like, oh, okay. I see what she's talking about now. So I introduced myself and apparently she had a similar conversation with Josh, which I did not know. So she kind of like set us both on that path to like meet each other. And then we were at, you know, an event.
At
and
Lucky
talked
Strike.
the whole time.
Lucky Strike Bowling.
At Lucky Strike, yep. And the best part, which he won't fully admit to, but it was a Meta event or a Facebook event at the time. And he was not in digital, even though I was, but he actually went to the event knowing that I was going to be there. So he might not admit that. Maybe he will now, but
so a not so lucky strike. It was a not so lucky strike. It was a planned strike.
Do you remember the college basketball game that was on that night?
Of course I do. It was Wisconsin versus Duke.
That is correct.
And we bonded over that. So I went to Wisconsin, and I love the Badgers, obviously, and he's just an obsessive, compulsive, like, basketball fan. So we totally bonded. We literally spent the whole time at the bar, and then the rest is history. Yeah. And then he left PhD 6 months after that. So it was like totally kosher.
Okay, so we have to fill in the last 15, 17 years then, or whatever time frame. Yeah. So let's then, okay, right?
So you're celebrating a decent milestone this year in terms of anniversaries. So what number are we at right now?
We're coming up on 12 in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this might be a tough one, but how do your careers in marketing and media play a role in your relationship?
I'll let Josh start on this one.
So, Val, I like to talk about work at home a lot more than Traci does. So she has, taxing days, understandably. And when she's with our kids, it's family dinner time. She wants to be present. I have this constant inner monologue around work, which I fail to keep inner, and then have an outer monologue. So, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the times, even during the day or on a weekend, I'll have an idea. I have lots of ideas. It relates to marketing, and I'll come in. I'll say, "Hey, babe, I got this idea," and I start pitching her, and usually
this sounds like the dream relationship, guys. I don't know. My wife is a physician. She wants no part of this stuff.
So here's the thing. Like, I first of all, his ideas 9 times out of 10 are actually pretty damn good. But like, I'm in the middle of things. Like, I'm writing emails. I am on calls. He's coming when I'm on calls and be like, "Can you go on mute for a second?" Like, I just, I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I know you don't have anybody else right here to talk to, but like
you got to hear this insight right now.
But so, Josh, if Traci was not an expert marketer, would you still go to her with these ideas, or would that monologue stay a monologue instead of becoming a dialogue?
It's a great question. I think if she wasn't in the business, I likely would not use her as a barometer as much. But she's a client. She's being pitched ideas all day long. So, yeah.
Sweet, Matt. That actually means that he values my opinion, which is actually rather surprising and kind of nice.
Should we mark the time? Should we turn this into a snackable post that you guys can share on LinkedIn?
What I will say, a couple of the best ideas that I've come up with in my career, Traci has been the first person that has heard those ideas.
Okay. And I have, on occasion, built on your ideas. So like, he will come up with a really great idea and be like, "Oh, but have you thought about it?" Oh, you'd be like, "Oh yes, that's it. Like, that's great." Or he has done that for me too. Like, I have come to him on rarer occasion with some thoughts, and he has definitely made me think about it in a different way. So I'd say both companies get like a little bit of a 2-for-1 by having us as employees.
I was going to ask that value proposition. I guess the flip side of this is, and maybe you can't tell me a percentage, but like, what number do you think in terms of ideas that he brings to you do you actually kill that then never see the light of day?
Ooh, it's a good, I have a number. What's your number though? I'm curious if it's a lot higher.
I think 40%.
Really? You think that high? I was going to say 20. I feel like he's got really good ideas a lot of the times. There have been a few that I've been like, It is kind of fun though when, you know, his ideas start here and then like they go on to actually become these like pretty big and awesome programs. And I'm like, wow, like you really made that happen. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so then at a more macro level, since you're both in this industry, are, you know, as far as like views on the media and marketing landscape and the transformation, air quotes, that I'm making that's always happening, is there anything that you have either in the past very much agreed on or disagreed on with the state of the marketplace? Like, does one of you think AI is amazing and the other one thinks it's going to end up eating your children? Like, do you discuss this at the dinner table, or is today the first time?
Today's not the first time, definitely not. And it's funny, there have been certain marketing tactics that Josh has questioned, you know, from time to time, or really just not as like heavily involved in. And to be honest, anybody who learns about these different technological advances is going to have like some kind of skepticism with it, right? Like everybody is like, really AI or really metaverse or really augmented reality? You know, I think it takes, he's such a like a creative person, I think, but not necessarily like fully in the same spot, I think, as I am on like the tech side of that creativity. Like you're more, I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think you're more.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I mean, he's super, they are different jobs too, right? Like, you know, Josh is more in sponsorships and activation and entertainment and sports. And I think that because of that, there's definite things you can do, of course, with new technology, but like his ideas have more so gravitated around like really these amazing insights about the consumer and the sports enthusiast. And like, he's so passionate, you know, about making that kind of front and center, I think, for any idea that he comes up with, that I think it doesn't always include like a technological
tech component.
I'm liking all this
know?
promotion
I
right
get
now.
that.
I'm digging this.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm being so nice to you. It's really weird.
Well, it's still early. We still have, you know, another 20, 30 minutes to go. So we'll devolve.
But I think for the most part, we're pretty in sync.
Yeah, but I think we both think that it always starts with a consumer insight and a human truth, right? And that's what every idea is born out of. I think we have a lot of similar frustrations as well with our industry, as I think a lot of people share. But I think we share a lot of the same philosophy.
And did you think you grew together towards the light, or did you both come from that shared? I mean, obviously you're married. You had a lot in common in a lot of ways, but do you find that you align more now than you might have earlier on?
I don't know that I would say more. I feel like possibly, you know, our careers have taken different unique turns, and we're both working on very different things right now that I'm like, it feels like we're further apart, but I don't think we are at the core.
Yeah, we both came up in the media industry at media agencies for many years. And so I think a lot of the core tenets in terms of what media agencies espouse are, you know, how we grew up in the industry. She's went to more of a digital marketing brand side marketer role, and I've pivoted into, as she said, sponsorship, partnership marketing, working with talent, music licensing, you know, basically anything in culture is sort of where we sit the epicenter of. So they are different points of view right now.
Okay, so let's get into each of kind of your areas of expertise.
Trace, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
You know, every day Mastercard is working to, you know, approach their consumer in a meaningful, authentic way. And you're in a global role. So I can imagine the challenges that you face every day doing that. So can you just kind of highlight how you and your team, because obviously it's, you know, it always matters who you surround yourself with in a large organization like that, I would imagine. So how do you stay ahead of this like rapidly changing media landscape? And also, you know, the challenge of a global role and having that as well be such a important part to it. So
So I'll first tackle the, you know, global side of it and how we work with our markets. And I think first and foremost, it's about understanding that not every market is the same. There's always going to be nuances, and we have to be flexible and understand that it's just not a one size fits all model. And I think, one market could lean heavily into experiential, one maybe into outdoor, one into streaming. It's really just, again, going back to the core consumer and their market consumption habits, right? So we're never going to be like, you should be spending this percent in this channel only, and you got to adhere to that. And I think maybe in the past it was more like that because the channels were a little bit more agnostic, across the world. But I think that things have changed so much, especially from a technological standpoint, that it's not the same. And we have to be mindful of that. There are, though, certain things that have to be consistent when you're leading a global brand. And the one that, of course, comes to mind first is brand safety, right? So it's incredibly crucial that our markets are upholding our global standards for that, because all it takes is one impression, one mention, one article for our brand reputation to be damaged. And when you are basically a top 10 brand, we were number 9, we're now number 11, but that's okay.
Well, average out. It's average, yeah.
It's average, right? Top 10. That means that there is so much to lose by ending up on the wrong side of that. And so that is one area that we as, a team are hyper focused on. And we have very diligent, procedural, work that goes into protecting us.
At the same time, though, given the fact that probably the entire world is your total addressable market, I mean, we're probably, I'm holding up my Mastercard. I am obviously a customer as well. You have the value, the strength of your customer base to also kind of keep you brand safe, right? They're going to come to your defenses as long as you are doing right by them. You've been with the company, right. I think I just saw on LinkedIn, seven years. You just had an anniversary there as well. Yeah. And what I've loved about being a Mastercard customer, and this is not just blowing smoke, is that you guys are always at the forefront of creativity and innovation, right? Like I was big into Web3 and I was like, oh my God, so is Mastercard. There's something there. Wow, cool. Yeah. It's very customer and consumer centric experiences, right? It's like you're at this overlapping Venn diagram of innovation and customer centric. It's kind of like red and yellow circles that are overlapping as I think about it.
Sonic branding. I think about so many things, metaverse, everything.
Multisensory. You're right. And actually, and I was gonna get to this, so thanks for setting it up. But our global media team was originally part of like a marketing services organization. That's what it was called. There's multiple different groups that sit under it. But about 3 years ago, Cheryl Guerin came over to lead this group. And first of all, she's amazing. She's one of my favorite people. I know you guys know her too. But she set up this group. It's the Global Brand Strategy and Innovation Team. And what that means is that we are sitting as a global group at the epicenter of every single innovative advancement, right? So like it is our jobs, because our markets are heads down on the daily, executing, dealing with, whatever comes across their desks, like in that moment. So we have to be the ones that are going out there and learning about AR, VR, AI, anything that's out there, you name it, drones, like we just put on an amazing drone show for Stand Up to Cancer. Like we're doing it all because we have that broader group and her vision kind of saying like, you gotta stay on top of this stuff because competitors will beat you there if you're not, right? And it's what our consumers care about, right? It's meeting them where their passions lie. And that's always been, to your point, Matt, like our strategy. It's that passion-based consumer approach.
Well, it's a better way of putting it than I would, which is, for me, it's like healthy paranoia, right? Worried that you're just not keeping up forces you to keep up. So I don't know, maybe that's just my upbringing as well, for getting it.
No, it's true. It's true.
Please pardon this brief pause as I read some words from our sponsor. Hello, B2B marketers. Let me introduce you to a game changer in the lead generation arena, Leadfeeder. We all know the struggle of identifying those elusive website visitors and turning them into valuable leads. But what if I told you there's a tool that not only promises, but delivers on supercharging your lead generation and sales efforts? That's Leadfeeder. Imagine having the power to identify companies visiting your website, track their behavior in real time, and seamlessly integrate it all with your CRM. What sets Leadfeeder apart is the ability to provide detailed insights into visitor behavior, helping your sales team prioritize efforts and close deals faster. With customizable notifications, lead scoring, and GDPR compliance, Leadfeeder is changing the game. To revolutionize your approach to leads and deals, visit leadfeeder.com for a free demo. leadfeeder.com. And now, back to the conversation.
So switching to Josh for a bit, you gave me like sort of a 60-second spiel on your organization and what you do at Burns. But can you give me a little bit more on your role and sort of what you're responsible for and anything else you'd love to share?
Absolutely. So I'm in a business development role. That is a core part of my responsibility, is simply driving revenue for the company. That a big piece is how am I going to market? How am I navigating connections, introductions, reach out. Another piece, and the reason I joined Burns is really to create a new division and revenue stream for the company in sponsorship, partnership marketing. So prior to joining Burns, I was at Group M for 11 years. I ran our sports and entertainment sponsorship team for some of the biggest brands in the world, likes of Unilever, worked with Buffalo Wild Wings, worked with IHG, TJX, and Marshall. So it was a great opportunity to cut my teeth, worked with amazing properties, the likes of the NBA, the NCAA, Marvel Entertainment, movie studios. And then I had this opportunity to join a company in Burns Entertainment and Sports, which has been around for over 50 years, which, by the way, is insane in our industry, and has gone through a lot of different evolutions as a company, and has really adapted, from starting off as a company that would sign local athletes in Chicago to car dealership brands to then, evolving to doing much bigger deals in sports. We actually did the Michael Jordan deals with Hanes, that iconic campaign in the 90s. We did a bunch of the Wheaties box deals, and then we evolved into entertainment, probably in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I now have an opportunity to create a whole new revenue stream for the company based on my experience, which is pretty innovative, and it is exhilarating.
Well,
So are you the idea man? Sorry.
No,
Matt.
that's what I was going to ask. Like, are you the right brain? Are you the left brain? Are you the whole brain?
I would say I'm a combination, but I'm definitely someone who's inspired by coming up with ideas. That is the way I pitch clients, is I come up with original thinking for them versus saying, hey, I'm Josh Spiegelman. I can help you out, and I can really create an amazing sponsorship program for you. I'm actually coming up with what hopefully is an innovative solution for their business as a way to pitch.
And do you
Correct.
need the athletes or their teams to buy in? Like, I grew up in sports. I got to know many athletes over the years. I actually worked at the NBA, right? In working with them, is it similar or different than other celebrities or creators or talent?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there's a lot more differences than similarities, to be frank, in terms of working with athletes. One thing we always tell clients when you're working with athletes is that while they wield an incredible amount of influence, they are not influencers. They're not creators. So it's really important to be mindful of that when you're working with these athletes that are training year round for their sport. They have limited time off. Most athletes, when they're in season, they want to be fully locked in. And so, you have to be really cognizant of that when you're planning as relates to athlete partnerships. The second piece is that athletes are not actors or actresses. So a lot of times we've had
Do they want to be though? Sometimes.
I feel
like
clearly there's some athletes that are as we call multi-hyphenates and
nice.
really span.
I gotta say, Messi in our latest spot was pretty damn good, like Oscar worthy.
They are, but they require a lot more direction, and sometimes there are these elaborate scripts that creative agencies will develop, and we have to just be honest. You're working with someone who is not a trained actor. They don't learn their lines by trade, and it requires also a certain type of director to work with an athlete to get the emotion, as you're saying, Matt, pull out of them what you need creatively.
It's like working with animals and kids, except probably harder. Which is the number one rule of show business: is never work with animals
because they have money.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
Oh.
Dog, it's not listening. Yeah,
great question.
That's interesting.
So on those lines, I'd be interested to hear from you, Trace. Like, what is one of your more favorite programs or initiatives as of late or in the past that you worked on, that you led, that you're particularly proud of?
So I've worked across so many different things, and it's funny. It's always the purpose-driven. I mean, we do a lot of purpose-driven work, but I have to say they're the ones that the purpose-driven campaigns really like hold that special place in my heart, because I feel like I'm doing more than just selling something or, promoting our brand. And actually, so I've worked on stuff for our Priceless Planet Coalition. I did a whole YouTube influencer campaign for this initiative we had called Impact Through Action, where we, brought in influencers who really could actually, verbalize their needs and how Mastercard could come in and fit those needs and ultimately drive true action versus just talking the talk, right? A lot of brands talk the talk. Like, we showed how our products and services actually help them, become better at their jobs or what they're doing.
Nice.
The other, that wasn't my favorite, but that's just one example. But actually something I'm working on right now, which it was announced in January. It's set hopefully to launch later this year. It's a GenAI product, but it's an inclusive chatbot that we have built for small businesses. And it's basically taking on the fact that AI is inherently biased. And we learned this, just from being at CES and seeing all these examples of, systems that were pulling out information that just wasn't fully inclusive. And so we said, in particular, if you went to Mid-Journey or, an app, an image generation app, and you search beautiful woman, you would only find Caucasian women come back, or, a successful man, only Caucasian men. And we're like, well, this is a problem because it's not reflective of the real world. And we are not an image generation company, so we knew we couldn't solve that problem. But we did realize that there is an obvious place for us to focus, which is small business, because we have been very much involved in advancing small businesses around the world. And it is a diverse issue already, right? So diverse entrepreneurs face a harder time accessing loans and grants. And so we wanted to create a tool that enabled them to have access to all the information they need. So it's not getting buried. We're creating our own inclusive data set that sits on top of the open AI model. And it gives us the ability to really be more of a mentor and guide our small businesses through their problems, whether it's they're just starting a business, ideating, growing. And that inclusive data set, and sorry, I should bring it back to the whole media part of this, includes media coalition partners that we brought in. So Blavity, Group Black, Newsweek, and Univision are contributing podcasts, videos, articles that are relevant to all small business. And that's some of the content that's sitting in that inclusive data set. And so we're really, excited. We feel like this is going to change the game for a lot of small businesses. And again, hopefully launching sometime later this year. But that's something I'm most proud of. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
So Josh, that's awesome, Trace. I love it. And Josh, similarly, if you were to pick something that you've worked on as of late or in the past, that you were super, super proud of.
Yeah,
What would that
absolutely.
be?
So I think this is an area that Traci and I share perspective on, which is also purpose-based partnerships where I am making the world a better place. And that also comes in for context. I grew up with a dad who's a pediatrician, a mom who was a social worker. And so
Oh,
like they had both incredibly altruistic jobs growing up. So something, listen, coming up in the marketing industry, I struggled with a bit, which like, how am I helping the world besides sell
yeah.
soap or, sell deodorant, etc. So anytime I can actually make an impact, it's fantastic. So
Yeah.
this example is from 2020, dark days of COVID. But I'm sure you guys remember the NBA bubble. And
Yes.
back in May and June of 2020, I was maniacally obsessed with this NBA bubble, what it was going to be like, the social experiment of putting the best basketball players in the planet together in this one place where they're going to be living in hotels. And
Right.
so,
Yeah, on opposing teams, right? It was the entire league. It
Yeah.
wasn't
yeah,
just like one team
Yeah.
together. It was and the league was there. The refs were
yeah,
there. It was
it
crazy.
was absolutely crazy.
Mhm.
Jimmy Butler created his coffee brand, I think, at the NBA bubble, by the way. That's when he had the idea and started like serving coffee, wine. There was a ton of wine tastings down there. Anyway, but what one of the insights that I really gravitated to when I heard this news was, I'm not sure if you guys remember when they announced that on the backs of the jerseys they were going to have social justice messages. And I said, wow, I'm like, this is amazing. I said, what if we could work with a brand who had similar sentiments and had shared values as a lot of the words that were on the backs of jerseys. And we actually created a coalition of players who were going to work with that brand. The initial idea was there's going to be a teaser, and then we are going to find out that these 20 players picked a certain word because it was associated with a brand and all the values that they really espoused. Now, it went through a lot of different maturations, but we essentially we were able to then get to an idea where we were working with a collection of 10 to 12 of the best basketball players on the planet in a campaign for Dove Men Plus Care called Commit to Care. It was a double entendre for obviously the brand as well as care about racial equity. And the entire objective of the campaign was to change the way the world sees and treats Black men, and showcasing how even incredible athletes like Chris Paul and Jaylen Brown, all the things that they endure as Black men, even though they're the best athletes on the planet. And again, this was on the heels of George Floyd, but it was a sprint after we pitched a couple clients, worked with a couple amazing agencies, and then all of a sudden in September, October, we had spots running the NBA Finals. So that was one of the cooler examples where I had this inception, the kernel of the idea, started pitching it, and all of a sudden it then evolved into something that saw the light of day.
I love it. So, to kind of round it up before we get into other section of this podcast, you're both parents to the same children.
Wow, what are the odds?
Do your kids...
Wow. By the way, these are the
am-
types of hard-hitting questions and commentary that you only get on the Snarketing Podcast.
Love it.
So do your kids understand what you do for a living? And if so, like, what do they think? Do they think you guys are cool? Like, are they annoyed having to hear about it? Like, what's the deal?
Oh, I mean, I think they definitely think it's cool. They love some of the perks that come along with it. In particular, my son, my son gets it. My daughter definitely, or our daughter, sorry, gets it, you know, and he'll say like, he's always impressed by me. He thinks Mastercard's like the biggest, best company in the world, which I love because it just means that he's listening to me when I like genuinely like say these things.
That's in-home marketing, by the way, literally. It's not out of home. It's in-home marketing. That
in-home marketing, I talk about how awesome Mastercard is. And actually, he just got to really experience how awesome Mastercard is. So we sponsor Copa America, and they put out an employee sweeps for employees to enter their kids age 7 to 10, which our son Aiden is 9, to be a player mascot at one of the Copa America games. And
does that mean like high-fiving the players? Like, what does that mean?
No, like literally he walked out. So I won somehow, which was amazing. And he got to walk out on the field with Argentina.
Oh, God.
Oh.
High five Messi, his literal idol.
Oh, my God.
And stand on the field while they sang the national anthems. Like, right, you know, he walked out with, who did he walk out with?
Alexis McAllister.
And he just, after the opportunity, he looked to Josh actually, I think the next day, and he said, Daddy, I think that might just be the coolest thing I ever do in my life. Like he understood that it was really a priceless experience. And so I think he appreciates that we work in an industry that has such kind of like excitement and highs and, you know, things that he can actually grasp and understand too.
Are you guys hiring, by the way? Because I think my kid just got jealous.
Are you 4'5" and under? Because
I can be if I need to be. Whatever it takes.
So yeah, one thing I will say, Matt, is I've had to ground him at times. So for example,
the flip side of that
first
is like,
four,
it's all downhill from here. Yeah.
Well, like he said, and you don't want him going to his friends being like, your dad's not as cool as my dad. Your mom's not as cool as my mom because I got to meet Messi and I'm going to the World Series or something, right?
Yeah, right. Or something like that, right? Josh will
so I've done work with the
word.
Mets in the past, and we're big
LGM. I'm loving this story already. Let's
big
do it.
Mets household right here. Let's go Mets.
Let's go.
And
let's go.
So he first, 3 or 4, 5 times he went to a game, he was in the Mets suite. He went to playoff games and like the MLB suite. So this kid's used to having, his private bathroom, ice cream on demand. He's getting Flaming Young sandwiches. So
that's not normal. That's not the typical Mets.
So I was like, all right, Traci, we need to. He needs to understand what it's like to sit with the plebes, And so we took him nosebleeds, upper deck. We're like, dude, this is how most real fans watch a game. So we do try to impart that a couple times a year just to ground him.
Oh,
that's good. Good for you guys that you have that perspective. Before we get into our unique lightning round, a couple of questions for both of you. One would be, if you had to switch roles for a week. I know we started out talking about our shared collective backgrounds in this industry, but who would be better at the other's job? And what do you think the biggest challenge would be?
I think I'd be better at her job than she would at mine.
Yeah, that was
because I have a decade plus of media experience. I understand the media ecosystem. I know enough to be dangerous where I can still throw out a number of acronyms that people believe I know what I'm talking about. Number one. So I think I'd be better hands down. In terms of the second, the biggest challenge would be sitting through the sheer amount of meetings that she has to sit through every day.
He does not have the patience for that whatsoever. There is not a chance he could deal with the politics of a large corporate. I mean, just no. But he's right about subject matter expertise. Like, I don't necessarily have all of the talent or, sponsorship expertise. So if we're talking about straight, like actual, work, like what the physical work would be, sure, I'd put him in better opportunity on my side. But other than that, like corporate America and working at a client on the brand side, like just very different ball game that he is not currently quite.
See, I think you're selling yourself short, Traci, because I think you'd not only pick it up quickly, but I think you would fit right in. You might enjoy it, but I think people would love having, like, no offense, Josh, you're kind of like the stereotypical sports partnerships guy, you know? But Traci would bring something different.
Maybe this leads us to why we are where we are today.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, I think we're both very content in our current roles, and hopefully we won't have to play Freaky Friday or anything.
I would say for your colleagues listening, I'm sure they're all grateful that they have who they have sitting in the chairs next to them.
That's right.
But you're team players. There's no I in team, although there is an I in Traci, so maybe we do.
There is. Yeah. There is.
Yeah.
Good.
We have to figure that out. Okay. So if you have listened to an episode, you know that we always close with a not so lightning round. But since we have the first ever and maybe last ever husband and wife pairing of guests, I don't know. We'll have to review the metrics, right? We are also
we'll see if we make it to 12. We'll see if we make it to 12 after this, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, that should be that's the main KPI.
I'm knocking on wood for you guys. I really, that KPI is more important than our, doubling our listeners from 2 to 4. I think what would be fun is to turn this lightning round though into more of like a newlywed game where we each ask of you a question outside earshot of the other and compare the answers. I don't know how this is going to work though. You are in different rooms of your house, yes?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can. Oh yeah, I'll just mute mine.
Yeah. Okay. So who?
No, you can't just mute yourself. You have to shut the volume.
This could go horribly wrong. So apologies in advance to the listening audience. So who wants to go first?
I think Traci should go first.
Okay. So
I knew you were going to say that.
Honor system here. Josh, we're going to ask you to turn the volume off.
I'm muting right now.
By the way, anything you want to tell us or the listening audience that he won't know until he listens, Traci, now's your chance. Okay.
Ooh. No, I got nothing.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go through this quickly. So what is your spouse's biggest pet peeve about you?
Oh, definitely backseat driving.
Backseat driving.
For sure. Okay. Without a doubt.
What is your favorite activity to do together?
Probably just like beach, like hang out on the beach at a pool.
Okay.
I don't know. What do we do together? I mean, travel. Sorry,
okay.
travel.
I was going to say, like, going somewhere together.
Yeah. Sorry.
What is the most priceless thing you own?
Oh, our dog.
Okay. It's better than kids, because you can't say you own your kids. So dog is a good answer.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to say I own my kids.
You could. I would have had to correct you.
I could. It would be a little bit weird.
Let's see what your husband says. That's the fun in this game. So your favorite slogan all time, not counting priceless or motto, like advertising slogan?
Oh dear. I don't know the exact slogan, but I have to say anything Dove. Like they just the real
real beauty. Yeah, okay. All right. That's good enough. And then last question will be fantasy collaboration. If you could collaborate with any historical figure or fictional figure on a campaign, who would it be and why?
Like somebody not around anymore, you mean?
Yeah,
when you say historical,
dead or alive.
Like dead or alive? Okay.
Sure.
I would go Michelle Obama.
Oh,
nice.
That's a great one.
And I think the why is pretty obvious.
Okay.
Yes.
I realize in asking these questions, I should have asked you what you think your spouse would have said, because that's how the newlywed game is played. But clearly, we don't know what we're doing, so...
Yeah, that's fine.
So let's just bring Josh in. You can listen in, and we'll ask him the same questions, and then just compare. Can we do that? All right.
Yes.
All right, Josh, unmute. How do we tell him to unmute?
All right, I'm back. I'm back.
All right, we did that. Wow. We had to show some real sign language or unmute. We were all giving different gestures, which is probably also an exercise in sociology and communication. Okay, Josh. Your wife answered several questions very transparently and honestly. We are going to ask that you do the same. However, we realized midway through we weren't really doing it right because we were asking her questions and she was answering them as herself instead of answering what you would have thought.
You know what you could do, Matt? You could ask him what he thinks I would say.
Okay, so we'll just do like a one-way. Okay, that kind of puts him on the spot, but
this is the one part that's making me nervous. I'm sweating right now.
The questions are pretty easy ones, so
there's no wrong answer except we're going to ask you what you think your wife said, and if you get it wrong, we're not going to be live to deal with the consequences after the fact. Okay. All right.
I think the first one he'll get right.
Okay, so we're going to ask you questions. Answer what you think your wife said.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
You getting it?
So,
You look confused.
so I'll ask the questions
okay,
now.
go for it.
What is your spouse's biggest pet peeve about you? And
My
I
impatience.
guess that would just be that question.
My impatience.
What?
Well, right. That's what I would say about you.
Oh, my
What do
biggest
you
pet
think?
peeve about you being on your phone too much.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Not backseat driving?
Oh, well, that would be one too.
Oh, we're getting into the heart of things here, guys. But we maybe want to go for another hour or so. Do you guys
Okay.
have another hour, by the way? Can we keep going?
Favorite activity to do together? I know this is very fun. Favorite activity?
What's our favorite thing to do together?
It's hard. Oh
She
my-
had trouble
Parenting?
too, so it's adorable. You
Just kidding.
just kidding.
Going
That's
to the
the
beach.
right answer? Oh, beach! Wow! Wow, you did it.
Said originally.
Good.
And then I changed it to something that makes more sense.
It was travel, but it's fine. You traveled to the beach. You don't
Travel,
live at the
agree. Travel.
Travel
Yeah.
in general.
beach. Okay.
It's more the macro
Okay.
version.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the most priceless thing you own?
Our kids.
Oh my God, that's what she said, but she's like, that would be weird to say that. So I said something else very closely aligned to that. As far
Own.
as-
What do we
said-
actually own versus produced?
That's alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brewster.
Yeah.
Come on. Brewster.
Shout out,
Like
Brewster.
a model dog. Anyway.
Thanks for listening,
Oh my
Brewster.
God,
We
that
appreciate
dog
you.
is gorgeous.
Isn't he the cutest?
Oh, he's the cutest. All right, so what's your all-time favorite advertising slogan?
Obviously
Priceless.
priceless.
Well, yeah, that's why it was hard for me because
Is it beyond
Outside
half
of
the
that,
question?
I would say just do it. Not even close.
What do you think your
That's what I
wife
was gonna
says? Remember how to play. We're ruining
I
this
almost
game.
said
Oh,
just
I
do
mean,
it.
wait,
Actually,
she
but
had
I
to say
didn't want to
priceless.
answer just. What?
No, outside of priceless. We gave her that.
Yeah.
That she couldn't say priceless.
She doesn't think about any other brands besides Mastercard ever.
You worked on this account at
Nice
Group
little.
M or
that's a
WPP.
Real
At
Beauty.
Mindshare.
Got it.
nice
Good.
job.
Josh, this is adorable.
But to Tracy's
All right,
Tracy's
anyway.
colleagues and any superiors who may be listening, the fact that Josh thinks that Tracy only thinks about MasterCard
I
is
know,
both a
it's
good
kind of-
thing, but maybe not, because you also want to be able to broaden
I
your.
need to be up to
Yeah.
speed on
Yeah.
the compare. Yeah. That's
Okay.
fair.
Okay. Fantasy collaboration. If you could collaborate with any historical figure, dead or alive, on a campaign, what would it be and why? What do you think? You can answer what you would do, and then also what you think Trace would have said.
That's a good one.
I know that was hard.
Older and we're talking about Obama.
Michelle,
Obama. Good.
Yeah, Michelle.
The better Obama, obviously.
That was very good. Very good.
Yeah. Well, you guys disappointed me in how well you did, because I was really hoping for a little bit more drama. But
I'm not gonna lie. We shocked myself. I'm floored.
Oh my God, you guys know each other. You're connected.
Other than we don't know what we do together. That's fine. Other than go to the beach, we watch different shows. So if anything, we're both falling asleep but on different couches or beds. I don't know what else.
I had a client meeting and someone talked about the sleeping divorce, which is two adults sleeping in different beds in different rooms when they go to sleep. And I was like, I've never heard that term before. Anyway,
yeah, we're not going to get into that
No.
level of depth with you guys. I think this is a. Okay,
No,
let's
we're
cut it
good.
here. I
Nearly
think this is a
50% of
great place
couples.
to end
Anyway,
it. We
sorry.
haven't alienated anybody or said anything offensive that I can think of. You're going down a dark place. Maybe we'll save it for like season 4, if and when Tracy and Josh agree to come back. But I just want to first thank you guys for doing this, because this was a little bit of a test case for both of you and for us. So thank you for being eager, willing participants, but also just for sharing so much about professional and personal, because we really don't usually get into that with guests, but this was fun for us.
No, it's super fun. Thanks for thinking of us.
Well, we
actually got to actually work together.
Well, I was going to say, you now can say that you've worked together again, because I don't think this was all fun. I think this was a little bit of a labor of love.
We did about a year or two ago guest lecture together for a Wisconsin marketing class. So now we can check off guest lecture and podcast.
Well,
you got the Big Ten, and now you got the Little Two. So you've combined forces here and really covered everything.
Love it.
But thank you guys again. This was super fun. By the way, Valerie, challenge to our team is to now go find additional husbands and wives to see who can one up the Spiegel people.
Never.
The bar has been set. The gauntlet has been thrown down.
I don't know.
The Spiegel people came to play and they won.
Oh my God. Speaking of, sorry, I just have to go here. Like, I've never laughed so hard when you called us the Spiegel people, to the extent that I'm like, nobody has ever done that. And I want to use it for our holiday card so badly because I think it's freaking brilliant.
Well,
so thank you for giving us a new name.
Take it, use it. I may or may not use it when we promote this. So if anyone's confused, now you know why. All right, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
That episode sure did have everything: information, entertainment, and for the first time ever, real marital bliss. I may be a generative AI announcer, but I know a real connection when I hear one, and those two have it. Thanks Traci and Josh, and thanks to our listeners for making it all the way to the end. See you next time on the Snarketing Podcast.